timed their dinner by it or whatever else they have going on.
Oh, Chad is on.
Timed their dinner by it, whatever else they have. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the budget hearing. This is our official budget hearing. I know several people in the room have had an opportunity to listen to this budget presentation a few times. So what's one more time, right? Why not? And for those who are watching at home, hello and welcome. And I hope that you find this to be informative. A copy of this presentation is located on our school website, and we'll also have portions of it available on our social media as we move forward. Okay, so without further ado, I'll kind of take us through our budget proposal for next school year. First of all, we want to take a look at some of our academic accomplishments from last May through today. It's with a pandemic, you would think that the wheels would have totally fallen off, but they absolutely didn't. Thanks to the dedication of our employees and our Board of Education, we were able to continue to thrive even during the pandemic. And I would argue that we're looking at coming out of the pandemic pretty darn strong and poised and ready for the next chapter. So two of the pieces I would say that are very interesting again during a pandemic where students mostly had to be working from home virtually. You look at the CTE designations of 15. That's a lot of work put in for students getting their career and technical education endorsement, mostly from a virtual platform. And then secondly, when we look at our 2 to 4 year college attendees, 57% is quite high as well. And for anybody who's watching at home for the first time, we are not a school district that pushes everybody to college. College is appropriate for some students, but for other students, trades are appropriate, careers, the military, anything except for playing Xbox in your parents' basement is what we support here at Marcus Football. So we've obviously had some challenges and we have to respond to those challenges as well. And COVID-19 costs were quite a challenge last school year and heading into this school year. And there are COVID costs that you might think of off the top of your head, and then there are COVID costs that you don't think about so much. So, some of the COVID costs that we think about might be PPE, Clorox wipes, goggles, gloves, all those kinds of things. Well, those can be expensive. We also had to add an additional 5 cleaners since the pandemic began to make sure that we are meeting all the requirements and keeping our students and community members safe. That has an expense as well. What we also look at is we had transportation expense that was unexpected, having to deliver meals and computer products and materials to people's homes and that kind of thing. That had an expense as well, and so on. The next challenge is actually two things: state and federal aid. If you haven't seen this presentation, but have been watching the news, it looks like the federal government has dumped a ton of money into school districts that we can use for whatever we want. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I'll show you a little bit later in the presentation that, yes, there will be some monies available to school districts, but they have targeted uses that we have to actually apply for and claim and then be audited on in order to get reimbursement for the money that we spend. I'll talk about that. And then lastly, a challenge is always the tax cap. For this particular school year, and I think in the history of the school district since the tax cap of 2012, it's been a challenge, but it has been one that we've been able to rise up and meet. What does this budget provide? It's living within, we keep calling it a new normal. And for those who have been in this business for a long time, I think the new normal continues to be new, sometimes every day, every week or every year. But what we want to be able to do is live within that new normal. That means sometimes running a school district like a business. I know people don't like to say that all the time, but school districts on the back end are actually businesses. And one of the things that you constantly have to do if you want to remain fiscally responsible to your community is you have to adjust staffing to enrollment. You've always got to be looking at that how many students are we going to have, what are their needs, and what is the staffing, as opposed to just rolling people over from year to year. That's something that you really shouldn't be doing anymore. Working within the tax cap, adjusting our existing resources to support other projects. So what does that mean? That means if you really identify something that you've been doing for 20, 30, 40 years, and it's kind of outlived its life, but you still have that money in the budget, it's probably time to take a look at that money and say, well, what can I use that money for that reflects current practice or looking into the future? And then one of the huge ones that we have is managing the impact of COVID-19. We talk about impact from an operational standpoint, buses and cleaning and custodians, but there's also a significant mental health impact that is taking its toll on our employees and on our students. So what does that look like to help people get through the next 1 to 3 years beyond this pandemic? That's what this budget helps us to do. See, Mr. Nemitz has his thumbs up there, which is nice. This budget maintains existing programs to the extent possible. It also provides resources for our district goals. When we say our district goal means safety, our own safety related to COVID is a 1A safety is making sure that we're safe from all the things that society has brought to schools over the past 10 to 15 years as well. This budget provides that. The next thing is the Science of Reading initiative. One of the pieces when I was hired was to take a look at our reading results. We have tremendous teachers. We need to make sure that they have consistent tools in their hands and the correct tools in their hands and are trained correctly to make sure that we can help to improve achievement for our learners. So Erica Hasselstrom, our director of a lot of things in the district, and I have been working with the ELA, English Language Arts Committee, on selecting a new curriculum to be used, at least UPK to 5, and then in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And that it's all backed by the science of reading, which is some great research. It's been out there for a while, but now it's kind of becoming prevalent in education. There's also special education support, and I'm going to show you a couple of slides in a few minutes that I hope you find pleasing, because it goes back to some of the goals that we've been trying to achieve. We have to make sure that our students with special needs have the support that they need, but we also need to make sure that we are not sending students out of district to programs that we could do in-house with the correct support. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We've been able to achieve that here. And then lastly, thanks to Brenda Lehman, who's here tonight, and her staff, that technology integration and infrastructure. I think we learned through this pandemic that there's no such thing as enough bandwidth. I think we've learned that everywhere, in our houses, in our school, everywhere, in our work. So we continue to keep an eye on that, but we're also keeping an eye on what are the correct tools that protect student safety online, but are also good for building education and rapport relationships. So Brenda and her staff have done a fantastic job with that. But that requires a lot of resources, and that's in the budget as well. For people who like to look at the numbers of things, there's $440,000 of fund balance and reserve funds used to balance the budget. That's an estimate for us. One of the things, I see some new people here, so one of the things that we like to do is under promise, over deliver. I think that's an important piece when you're budgeting, and also being as conservative as possible when you're budgeting. So while we estimate having to use $440,000 of fund balance, I don't expect to use anywhere near that, but we've actually earmarked that. This year we have budgeted the same for this year, didn't use it. Again, under promise, under deliver. Making sure that the tax levy falls into the governor's tax cap. The governor's tax cap before audit review is 2.57%. We've got some auditors taking a look at. We're the first, I guess, fortunate to look at that way. We did the first district. They go through and look at a bunch of districts and their tax cap calculations and all of that. And they're still working through some numbers. So if there are any adjustments to be made there, we would make those at a later time. Okay? And then also looking out to the future, I think it's very short-sighted to think about a budget as one thing. We're going from one year to the next. We try to look out as far as we can, and thanks to employment agreements and arrangements that we've made and are making, we can look out to at least 2024-25 which should give some comfort to everybody when it comes to budgets. Okay. This tax cap formula, I won't go into too many details. I teach a class on it. We don't want that. Just very quickly here, an analysis of the tax cap history for the school district. Again, you look at, this is from 2016 and 17 and beyond. You can see in the last column on the right, this district is a district that when budgets are built, they're built based on how much money we think we need from the taxpayers to balance the budget and nothing extra. Okay, we feel very strongly that every dollar that a person has is their dollar. And if we think that we need a couple of dollars to balance the budget, that's all we ask for. You will see, I'm sure in the newspapers and stuff, you'll start seeing the budgets will be out there. You'll start to see that right-hand column where districts will take all the money available to them, whether they need to or not. We just feel philosophically that that's not the correct way to budget and the trust of the community. Okay? Budgets can be broken down into two different things. They can be broken down into what are called types, or they can be broken down into categories. So some people are visual learners. So on this slide right here, we have our expenditures by type. And what I always pause to say is, if you add up instruction, administration, and benefits, that's well over 70% of where our tax dollars are going. That's a good thing because we're a school, all right? And I have had a chance to work with school districts in the past and kind of help them get through where their instructional piece is kind of small. And I try to explain, you're a school, not something else, and you want the majority of your money going into salaries and benefits for the people that are providing instruction for the children. We have that here. Something new for Marcus Whitman that you've never seen before is on the left-hand side. If you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you go down to community service, you see a number of $12,000 in there. We are so proud of our capital project that we're ready to closure. It's got our second story as an indoor track, a fitness center, a multi-purpose room, not to mention our pool, which people use all the time. And we're also going to have a gathering space when you come in, a true entrance into that facility. We want to be able to staff that and make sure that it's open to our community members in the evenings so that people can come in and use the facilities that they're helping to fund. So that $12,000 in community service will be used to pay for staffing to oversee that location when it's completed. And our completion date should be October at the latest. And when you get a chance to take a tour and see it, I will tell you, you will be impressed. There's no question about it. So here it is again, a couple of things I want to point out. I mentioned to you earlier about special education. And if you look at the instruction line, you see that the instruction line is actually down about 1%. It's not down 1% due to retirement. It's not down 1% due to layoffs. It's down 1% because we have been able, over the course of 2 years, and then going into a third year, looking at children who are at outside placements for their special education, figuring out how to make that happen in-house, and then bringing those children back to Whitman in order to educate them, okay? And that has a tremendous savings when you're able to do that. And then I always argue that I feel that, if we're bringing them back, we know exactly what's happening with each child every single day, and we feel we provide the best instruction possible. So that's why that's down 1.1%. We're looking at, we've brought since September of 2019, we've brought back, I think it's 12 students, and we're looking to bring back another 5 to 6 more for this fall. That's not to say that our special education BOCES programs aren't good. They're fantastic. But what we had to do is take a step back and say the first decision can't be to send a child to a BOCES program. It's got to be what can we do in-house to best serve a child's needs before we decide on an outside placement. Okay? The other thing I wanted you to take a look at is transportation. I very, very much appreciate the work of Leanne Shipman and Leslie Jones. Part of that reduction there is because of how good a job they do on establishing bus routes for children. And the second thing is, in that category, we did have some retirements that did help make a reduction there. And then lastly, I would point out, under the benefits line, where it says a 1.76% increase. Had we not been able to negotiate some significant contracts in the district this school year, which included something that we feel benefits the employee and benefits the school district in terms of health insurance, you would have seen a 10% increase in that line, not a 1.76% increase in that line. So again, that's just a testament to our employees working together for the common good. A capital outlay project is also something else that's new for Marcus Whitman, but I kind of want to explain it as briefly as I can. Every school district in the state is allowed to do what's called a capital outlay project. And that capital outlay project can be up to $100,000. What you can use that for, you can use it for any project that you would have done a regular capital project for. And the reason why school districts do it within their regular budget is because it generates building aid for the following school year. So it helps your current budget to make money for the future. What does that do? It eases the impact on taxpayers down the road. Okay, so in this, we're planning some a large cooler unit replacement and then some masonry work. It's going to generate about $71,800. So that $100,000 we're going to spend will generate $71,800 back in building. So you can see the actual expense of the project is a lot less than $100,000. Then, so the thought process is once you've included it in your general budget each year, you take smaller projects and you knock them off in your budget so that when you have to do a regular capital project, that number can be a little bit smaller because you're absorbing it in the regular budget. So when you come to vote on May 18th, a week from tomorrow, in our high school porch, we'll make sure you're able to get there. We're going to have signs, we're going to have flags, I'm putting out a video in a couple of days about how to get there, what to do, so that nobody's confused. You'll have an opportunity to say yes or no to what I just explained. What I have to do, what the Board of Education has to do is they have to balance those expenditures. How are we going to make money to balance the budget? School districts, unlike the federal government, school districts cannot go into the negative. They have to have a balanced budget each year, just like we have to do. So how are we going to do that? Well, there's three places that our school district gets money from. We get our money from local tax share, we get money from state aid, and we get money from this thing called other in yellow. Other can be $5 I find on the floor. Other can be money that comes from federal government, in terms of federal aid and that kind of thing. But you can see that in this district, the lion's share of our dollars comes from state aid and us as a community. So we look at the breakout, it kind of just re-explains what I said in the beginning there. You notice it says reserves and debt service way at the bottom, that 440,000, as I mentioned to you earlier. There's also 580,000 of fund balance. That's another thing where we, again, under promise, over deliver. Put that fund balance, which is like a savings account. We may have to use that. We will not use anywhere near 580,000, but we want to put that in there to show how we balance the budget in which case scenario. This is a new slide for Marcus Whitman as well, and for all districts. Zoe did a good job. I couldn't find the right graphic. She found these buckets, which is exactly what they are. There's three buckets of money that the federal government made available to schools and is making available to schools. The first one was called the CARES Act, and that money's already gone. So that money was used to fund all the different things that we did last year with transportation, the extra cleaners, and all that kind of thing, the food, all that, right? So now I want you to look at the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, and then the American Rescue Plan Act, the next two. Both of those buckets are grant-based. So what we have to do is we take that total amount of money that it might be. We have to pull out 20% of that money. 20% has to be used for summer programming that's focused on gap closing, so instructional gap closing. So it could be reading, it could be math, it could be anything, but it's got to be able to show, we have to be able to show that we're closing gaps instructionally with 20% of that money. What does the other 80% go towards? Well, the other 80% has to go toward professional development, training. It can go to hiring for specialized positions for during the school year to help with reading or math or whatever areas of focus are the need that we think we've lost due to the pandemic. Okay, so it's not money just sitting there. We have to plan, we have to apply for it, we have to show that we did it, and then we get reimbursed for that expenditure. That is not what you're voting on. It's out here somewhere, and it comes into the budget like a grant. It's just not part of the vote. Here are your worst case scenario tax rate situations. We're made out of 7 different townships, and you can see in the blue the percent change in rate at 33 cents. This number, these figures right here were based on last year's assessed values and equalization rates. Why do we do that? We do that because we want to give you the absolute worst case scenario, under promise, over deliver. This is my 21st or 22nd budget presentation in my career. Never has that percent change in rate been higher than what's been presented. It's always been lower. It's just a matter of how much lower. I'll show you in a minute where I think it's going to wind up. So our levy is 50,693,000 approximately. It's a percent change of 2.57%. This, I think, is the slide that makes the most sense for people. Is, you know, okay, I wrote a check or out of escrow came a certain amount of money this year. What's it? How much more is it going to be next year? That's what I want. And that's so. And if I'm working with my mom and dad, that's what they want to know. So what you do is you take the assessed value of your home, and we estimated $100,000 just to make the math easy. Okay. Hopefully, everybody is receiving some kind of star reduction, whether it's basic or enhanced, depending upon your age, your income, and some other factors. I put it in as if it was me. Basic star reduction of 30,000. That gives you 70,000. What's called your net taxable value. The worst case scenario tax rate that I showed you was $13.26. Multiply that out, that would be an increase in your tax bill on this home of $23.10. In looking at the tax cap calculation, the possibility that through an audit, there'll be an adjustment there down. And also, we know that assessed values have come up as been construction. We know that the equalization rates have been pretty steady, and they will remain steady. My estimate to you, you know, I hope Vegas isn't listening, but my sense is that when we get done and write tax bills in August, there's either no tax increase or there'll be a slight tax decrease for the upcoming school year. But I don't want to say that in writing because I want to do the worst case. That's the worst. That assumes no change in assessed values. We know things have changed. And so we already know we're working in a good way. What can change the tax rate? State aid. So every $143,000 that we receive is 1% on the tax levy. So if I bend down and happen to find $143,000 on the floor, I can pick that up and we can say, okay, this is going to go to decrease the tax levy. Also, the changes in assessments, we know that that's happening. The changes in equalization rates, and then the changes in star exceptions. If you really enjoy the math of this, as some people do, when you go to our website and find this presentation, those 3 links work. I just checked them, and you can actually go in there and pretty much pinpoint your own property taxes, your own school taxes, if you want it. I'm in the process. I just bought a house. I'm in the process of doing that now. My potential school, city, and town tax. I live in Canandaigua, so I'm working that out now. This is an interesting year, actually. It's one of the few years where the amount being spent, the amount being brought in, and the tax levy are all in the same ballpark. Normally, they're off by at least a couple of percent. And, I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it. I haven't had time to really dig into it. Just kind of calculate it out that way. And I found that to be interesting. So that Proposition 1, I like the old voting machines where you get in the thing and you like that. You felt private and you just click buttons and you feel the mechanics of it. We don't have those anymore, unfortunately. So Shereen Benedict is our clerk. Has done an amazing job of getting ready for the vote. In another kind of weird year. The Proposition 1, it will be for the budget that I just presented. The second one is for school buses, and just a quick for new people. The state used to pay you your transportation aid for buses. So if we gave them $100,000, they would give you your transportation aid right back, your school bus aid. Well, after the recession, they couldn't afford to do that. So what they decided to do is they'll still pay you back what you're supposed to get. And for us, for every dollar we spend, we get 65 cents back. You see that versus transportation aid ratio, 65%. We get 65 cents back. However, that gets paid back over 5 years. So what we do is we create a spreadsheet and we decide, okay, what vehicles do we need? You can see that the average mileage of our buses is 160,000 miles on these roads that we are trading in for replacements. You can also see that each year on the high end, our fleet of 37 buses does not that far away from 1 million miles. So it's pretty significant. When we look at our spreadsheet and say, okay, what do we have to replace? What's gotten to about 160,000 miles these buses have, or these vehicles have? We want to come up with a number, and this year it's 468,600. It's 370 passenger buses, 130 passenger, and 125. That will, by purchasing this way, getting the money back over 5 years, there is no additional impact on taxpayers of having this bus replacement. Okay, and that's why you look to do that, to make sure that it's okay like that. That's proposition 2. But we're not done. But wait, there's more. We have guests tonight that will be able to answer some questions if you have them. Our libraries, our local libraries have some propositions. We are great partners with our libraries. From a legal perspective, anybody who's watching right now that I can't see, the way it works is libraries are allowed to levy what they need in 2 places. One of them will be on a town vote if the town had a vote every single year, a standing vote every year, and our towns do not. The second way would be to have it on a school budget. And if the school has a vote every single year, and guess what? We do. So, I try to do some research, but it's been at least 30 years that this has been in existence, where a library can have their ask on a school budget vote. So for Gorham, you can see proposition 3 is for Gorham and their tax levy, and then for Middlesex Reading Center, and then also for Rushville. Please remember when you're in the voting booth, if you're listening at home, those are 3 separate clicks. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. And again, when we get to the end here, we'll have an opportunity for people representing the libraries to answer any questions that you might have about their levies. Okay, and give a quick presentation. Okay, that's that. So we do have some Board of Education candidates with 3 seats for 3 terms. We happen to have 4 people running. We have 3 incumbents, and we have 1 new person who is seeking election. We have Cindy Hall, Elaine Barber, Sheila Brown, Corey Clark. The reason why they're listed in this order is because we did a random drawing, and that's how their names were selected to be on the ballot. Okay, so somebody my librarians might be saying, "Well, how come they're not in alphabetical order?" I can see that on your face. Okay, that's why we did random draw, and that's how the names are out. So before we have our Board of Education candidates introduce themselves, are there any questions about what I just presented about the budget or any of the propositions, except for the libraries? We're going to give the libraries a little bit of time at the end of that. Any questions? Sharina, run any questions from home on the budget? No. Okay. So what I'd like to do is, and I'll kind of be the MC of this a little bit, if that's okay. I'd like to invite Cindy Hall to come up here. Okay. You can be our first presenter. Before we do that, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, Carol.
At my cheat index card because I'm not a speaker like Dr. Brown. So my name is Cindy Hall, and I'd like to continue to serve on the Board of Education to help advance the positive direction the Whitman School District is going. I can't tell you how proud and grateful I am for Dr. Brown, the students and staff, and all of you at these tables and on Zoom that have provided guidance and many hours so that women can continue to foster and educate our students. After spending the day in the district on the 29th for Staff Appreciation Day, it made me proud to see how excited students and staff were to be back in school with some kind of normalcy during this pandemic year. Thank you for your support.
Okay, thank you. And coming from outer space, and not really. The next person that we're going to hear from via Zoom this evening is Elaine Barber. Good evening, Elaine.
Hi, I'm Elaine Barber. I'm from Canandaigua and my husband is from Mendon. We've been in the district for 17 years now. We have 2 teenagers in school at Marcus Whitman. I've worked in the educational industry for 25 years, most of that time spent with Trend Enterprises, a company that makes classroom supplies. I was a territory sales rep covering the Northeast, Canada, and California, and worked closely with parents, teachers, and business owners during that time. Daughter Ava was little. I loved to volunteer in her classrooms and felt fortunate to be able to do so. I looked on serving on the school board as an extension of this volunteerism. I feel really privileged to be a part of this district, and I've always felt comfortable communicating with teachers and over the course of my child's education. They're special people at Marcus Whitman, and I'm so grateful for how they support our kids and families. Initially, I looked into joining the board last year. However, I put it off once COVID hit. This year has had a profound effect on everyone, but especially our children. My perspective has changed somewhat, and I feel it's more important than ever to be involved. Around at how other school districts have handled the last year, I'm even more grateful and impressed with the transparency and decency of how Marcus Whitman has steered us through this situation. Unfortunately, I sometimes have a sinking feeling that getting back to what we remember as normal is not going to come so easy. Issues that I'm thinking about now are probably what all parents are thinking about, such as the safety of masking, future vaccine mandates, and controversial curriculums. There will always be a flu or another COVID variant, and how do we now avoid disrupting our kids' routine every time this occurs? There's so much going on in education right now that parents need to be informed on the issues and feel comfortable being involved, standing up, and speaking out. I look forward to working with parents and the district and making sure that our children come first and encouraging parents and families to have as big a voice as possible.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Mrs. Barber. I appreciate it. Okay, next to the microphone is our Board of Education President, Sheila Brown.
Good evening, Sheila Brown. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve on the Marcus Whitman board for the past 22 years. When I attended my first board meeting in the summer of 1998, my oldest of 4 children was about to enter kindergarten, and I thought it would be a good idea to see what had become of Marcus Whitman since graduating here as a proud member of the class of 1983. So Phyllis, yes, can help us do the math, and you can figure it out. 22 years, 1983. I've spent a huge part of my adult life and my life living the blue and gold lifestyle. And quite honestly, my desire to serve this community has never, ever been stronger. What I've witnessed in this very challenging past year has been comparable to none. And as I'm sure you would all agree that none of us would like to repeat this past year, I have never, ever, ever been prouder of the students, the staff, the administrators, and my colleagues sitting next to me on this board and how that we've all reacted to this difficult time and risen to the challenges presented to us. Again, especially this year. From the making and delivering of sometimes 3 meals a day in the beginning of COVID to becoming a site for FoodLink and offering free food to absolutely anyone that needs it. And all of the fantastic volunteers that I've met through doing that, staff and community volunteers. To the teachers and the staff becoming so adept, seemingly overnight, at being able to teach remotely, because basically we had no other choice than to learn quickly so that we could serve all of our students. And to the miles-long parade of teachers that I will never, ever forget in their vehicles. I believe it was April Fool's Day, ironically, last year. It was literally miles long, and it was literally so that they could just see their students. I witnessed tears in the parking lot when we were all done, and I saw the excitement of the children and parents along the route. Sites that I had never seen before, and my heart has genuinely been touched so many times in this past year. And this really is why I want to run for the again. While I have served with 6 superintendents and helped hire 5 of them, this is one of the greatest tasks that the Board of Education has to complete. I am sure that you would all agree that Chris Brown is doing a phenomenal job. And for that, I am incredibly proud to be a sitting board member with all of you. What Chris has done in the short time here will resonate in the halls of Marcus Whitman for a long time to come. Our $30 million capital project will only enhance what we already have, what we already are so lucky to have here, and with our beautiful buildings and grounds that we have. But it will also make our auditorium, our band rooms, our gymnasiums, and what we have to offer here for all of our students and our community. It's going to make it some of the best in Section 5. Cannot begin to express the pride that I have for this Marcus Whitman School District. And for these and so many other reasons, I would be proud to serve in return. I would genuinely appreciate your vote on May 18th.
Okay, clerk, one moment. Okay, and last but not least, Cory Clark. Good evening. Can't believe I got to follow her. Hello, my name is Cory Clark. I am a 1996 graduate of Marcus Whitman. Oh, wow. The reason I chose to run again for re-election for the Board of Education was because of my children, as well as all the children here at this school. I have always put children first. First and foremost, always about the child. My 2 children presently are attending Marcus Whitman, are in 10th and 12th grade. My family, just like many of yours, have school-age children, have felt the pains, struggles, craziness, exhaustion of this past year and a half. Life of a school-age parent was kind of like this: work all day, get home, keep the children on task, turn in their assignments. Every Friday night, looking at Schoology, making sure assignments were in fact turned in, making sure that they attended their Zoom meetings. Then yeah, it all started over again the next week. That was the year that most of the families of school-age kids had. Plus, having seniors this year did not make it any easier. I have been working as a teacher assistant for the South Clifton Springs School District since 2003. I have worked as a teacher assistant in every grade from K to 12, working with some of the toughest kids that the district has. But one thing that I can say is if you love kids and you care about kids and you let them know that you love them, the world is open to any possibility. Awesome. This year, as a professional school board member and as a parent, I was able to have a unique perspective of seeing struggles, exhaustion, and triumphs that this last year has had on not only the students, but the staff and the administration. I love having the opportunity to be able to continue to serve this community on the Marcus Whitman board. Please remember me on the 18th. I want to thank our candidates for their speeches and for their candidacy. They get paid those big bucks to serve on our Board of Education, and especially during this challenging time. So I wish everyone the best of luck. I'm going to go.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
It's geared towards the library. Is it legal to levy a tax for a non-accredited institution?
I think what they would want to do is probably send me an email. I'm going to ask them to send me an email offline, explain what they do with a non-accredited institution.
Okay.
Okay, so with our segue, what I'd like to do, I'm going to go back in time a little bit here. Go backwards a little bit. Here we go. Stop. Right to there. And I do want to have, I'd like to invite our librarians to come up if they would. I'd like them to have a brief presentation they'd like to talk about and then answer any questions. And maybe they'll be able to answer the person's question who's on there. Just so the public understands the way that the library taxing goes, as I mentioned before, it's placed on the school ballot. It's kind of a pass-through. And what happens is when that tax is levied, it's levied actually to the library. It never sees the school. It goes, kind of passes through and goes to the library, if that helps to answer that question. So I'd like to introduce have our librarians come up here, introduce themselves, please, and kind of give you the floor for 8 minutes. Thank you. Don't be shy. It's all fun. Okay. Trying to use the microphone a little bit. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for giving us this opportunity to present tonight. My name is Rick Fryer. I'm the director of the Gorham Free Library in Gorham, New York, which is part of the Marcus Whitman School District. I'm here today to just kind of present a little bit about why the budget process is different this year than they have for the last 30 or however long years we've been part of the ballot. Between these three library organizations are working to do something radically different for the future. Because we're trying to a district with 3 libraries in it to help support the education of the community, whether it's the school children, to the seniors. We want to be here to provide any assistance that we can as an organization and as partners that hope to become libraries through the funds that they may receive. As you can see from the propositions, there are increases for Gorham Free Libraries. The increase is due to the fact that our board voted to consolidate our funding this year. In the past, we've had funds from 3 primary sources. There's no other category for us. We just had the Gorham Free Library, which is supported by the town of Gorham budget and the town of Seneca budget, and the levy vote that the community approves every year is part of the proposition. This year, we're asking for all of our primary funding to come through this levy vote, rather than having it split among those 3 different funding sources. This is a more democratic process, and it also allows our community members to support us. I also wanted to let you know that the Middlesex and Westville Library reading centers have very important reasons to be on the ballot this year as well, and I will let the lady speak to you about that. I'm going to introduce Jody and Sabra.
I'm Sabra Dutton, I'm director of the Middlesex Reading Center, and the reason that our budgets have increased so much is the state education department is decreed that reading centers are no longer to be funded. We're both part of the 7-tier library system. And what that means is as a reading center, we would no longer get any of the services through the 7-tier library system. We would no longer get any money from them, no longer get any support whatsoever. We would get this budget fails, we have to either close or stand alone as a reading center. Currently, right now, both of our budgets come to the line item basically in our town and village, and that's where the money comes from. The reason that it increases because we have to become a standalone chartered library. This process of becoming part of the state system. In order to meet the minimum standards required to be a chartered library, that's what the increase is. Which means we have to have a board, we have to meet the minimum standards of being open so many hours. Without this, like I said, we would basically money, what the towns are.
Hi, I'm Jody Baker from the Brushville Reading Center, and pretty much they said it all. We just really, really love to serve our community. And we, like Sabra just said, we need this money to come up to standards, looking at state standards. We just ask you to come out and vote and support the libraries. They are very, very important to the community. We have a lot of walk-in children and adults that come in. You all know this community, this whole community, and some people do not have transportation. But to see them come in the library and their eyes light up, it's just magic. And that's what we're here for, is to serve our entire community. Thank you.
I'll finish this up with some of the numbers. We are using the same formula that the school does in terms of the assessed value of the home. And we calculated out these increases for all three of the libraries. It would be around 3 cents a day. So for 3 cents a day, our community could have 3 libraries, 3 fully funded functional libraries. What just we need to be aware that we are here, we're here to serve you, and hopefully you'll consider supporting us. Right now, the services that we do offer include educational classes, programs for community members, story times, as well as electronic books, hardcover, paperback books, movies, rotating collections, tons of resources, as well as public computers, printing and faxing services. We really are a resource, and we hope you'll consider supporting us. And also, if you're not a library patron, we'd love to meet you. So the benefits of a successful vote would be that the Brushville and Middlesex Reading Centers will be able to remain open and become eligible for state aid and eligible for full library status through the state education department. There would also be a stable future for the Warrington Library without the different funding sources coming from town budgets every year that may fluctuate, especially in years like we've had. It would also allow the community to vote for the support of their community libraries, as well as enhanced technology, like you're saying with the minimum standards. They will be open longer hours, offer more books, more resources for consumers. And we thank you for your time and for your thoughtful consideration of these properties.
Okay, thank you. And are there any other final questions that anybody has before we close the hearing? All right, the budget hearing is officially closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if you could please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be great. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, okay. I thought you were telling me to wait. I think we're going to turn it over to, yes, I think we're going to turn it over to Vicki.
We have some very special guests. If they can come up here to the podium, please, I would appreciate it. First is Dr. Vicky Ramos. She's the BOCES District Superintendent. With her should be. Right, since I'm talking about. And then we have one of our own representing students, Madison Valastro. And they're here tonight to talk about writing. So,
Jessica.
It's not Michael Owens.
No,
Thank
No,
you
he
so
didn't come
much,
tonight.
and good evening, and thank you so much for inviting us here today. But because of everything, we know that when we're talking about our program, kids are the ones that really count, and students are the ones that really count. On behalf of Mike Ellis, unfortunately, work went a little longer than he had expected. He called me on the way here that he wasn't able to join us. But we've got Mandy here, right? And we have Jessica Newby, who's the pathway coordinator. So I'm gonna shift this right over to Maddie and she'll tell me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Madison Valastro. I'm a 12th grader. I work at Southern High School. I'm in the health professions program over at WIC, and I attend the health professions program, which means that we do a lot of things that have to do with nursing and stuff. So this program has really helped me with my future plans and where I want to go after college and what I want to do. My future plan is to attend Cuba College nursing program. I got accepted into there, and my goal is to obtain my RN line there within 4 years. After I graduate, I want to apply to Strong Memorial Hospital, and I want to work in OB. That's been like my dream my whole life. Health professions have helped me with these plans because it showed me the correct care for patients, how to talk to them, basically anything that has to do with healthcare. And it has also given me a lot of information about college and where I can go and what I can do and all these other things. My teacher, Miss Philbrick, is like, she's the best teacher anybody can ever ask for. She's always there to help. She's always there to answer questions, and she's taught me everything that I know that when it comes to anything like this. This program is helping make my success possible by giving me all the information that I need. It's showing me how to be the best certified nursing assistant I can possibly be. I'm taught how to do things at a very top level. Ms. Philbrick always says that when you're taught how to be a CNA, it's usually at the lowest level of care, and then when you go into the real world, you tend to slip. And she thinks that if you were taught at a higher level, you'll slip to the normal level, I guess you can say, and you'll still be able to give good care without being unsafe. And I think she's right, because the way that she teaches us is like the way that the state teaches you, and the way that the state wants you to do it, and it's pretty intense sometimes. I decided to attend health professions because I always knew that I wanted to be an RN. I think the best RNs are the people who started at CNAs and worked their way up. They know how to talk to patients. They know how to do things that CNAs do as an RN, and it helps them be an RN by being able to step down and help when needed. I learned a lot about that, like through my job at Thompson Hospital. I'm right over there, and I work with CNAs and LPNs over there. And I just learned a lot from my coworkers and Silver. And I just thought that becoming a CNA would have been a good step before I got my RN. And I also thought that it would look good on my college applications when they saw that I went to a CNA program and I obtained my CNA certificate. I had the opportunity to learn how to be a certified nursing assistant and how to perform those tasks correctly and safely and how to communicate with residents. I'm excited to learn more about how to be the best CNA I can be. And I'm also really excited to learn about RN as I move on to Tuca. And I take my CNA test pretty soon, so hopefully I'll pass that. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to see if there are any questions for Madison.
I'm just gonna say you are gonna pass that.
I hope so.
No. Positive thinking.
You got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice.
Charlotte has maybe fill in some pieces. Ms. Newby is our pathway coordinator, and we specifically have this position so that they can connect life, school, and work. So she knows a lot about the CE and the test and getting kids ready for it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. Like Dr. Ramos said, my name is Jessica Newby. I'm the Pathways Coordinator at the Finger Lake Tech and Career Center. One of my main job responsibilities with the students is making sure they're prepared to enter the real world. So like Maddie said, she is getting ready to take her CNA test soon. And she is just one of the many Marcus Whitman students attending our program that are getting ready to take their certification tests, get some extra credentials under their belt before they leave us in just a couple of weeks. We have so many students in our tech centers that really benefit from the hands-on learning experiences. And as I heard the board members say earlier tonight, that this year it's been a year. But what we have really enjoyed at the tech center specifically, thanks to the board members, thanks to Dr. Ramos, is being in session 5 days a week. And that's something that I know we're proud of. I know Dr. Ramos is very proud of. And I know the students are overjoyed to be with us 5 days a week. I think we see so much success with our students because we've had them for 5 days and they've been able to get all that hands-on experience. I don't think Maddie would be standing here tonight saying, I'm ready to take that CNA test this year if we hadn't been afforded that opportunity to have our students with us. So thank you from the Tech Center for allowing that to happen. We really do enjoy our Marcus Whitman students coming to us. We have about 60 students total in our 18 programs across the campus. I'm not going to take too much more time because I know Dr. Ramos has some information for you as well. But again, thank you very much for having us tonight.
Ask if that's okay. And once again, thank you so much for inviting us tonight. A couple of things. Last year, when March hit, we knew from March to June that with the type of programs that we have that are application of learning, we were going to have a very difficult time if we weren't able to bring them in every day in person. We are very blessed with having big centers, right? Because we have the garages where they practice, and those garages became classrooms, and that's how we were able to do it, as well as all the staff and much of the staff giving up areas that they thought they could do as meeting rooms. So every corner of that building is being used right now, and we've been very happy and fortunate to be able to do that. From last year to this year, we did not lose one junior to be going on to the senior year. So that speaks volumes of the dedication. New York State overall BOCES average is 87% of the students graduating with the Regents diploma. Our BOCES stands at 92, almost 93%. That was from last year. We expect that percentage of this year to be higher. So this is you. You do have 63 students right now at the CTE Center. 42 students participating in varied special ed programs with 5 students attending PTAC. And Accelerate U is in the ability to be able to take virtual online courses. And sometimes those are courses that students are interested in and they can't access, or for medical reasons, they cannot access either in the building. So we do offer that opportunity. You always participate in regional summer school, and the following bullets are all the programs that you participate in. We always say that BOCES is like your savings account. Though you pay, you always get receipt back. This year, the estimation of the amount of money coming back to you should be around $730,000. our board president would have, our board member, Maddie, and don't forget Mike Ellis works at Strong. So, would have probably spoken about this. We are one of the largest BOCES. We do have 25 component school districts that participate. We were founded back in 1948 when New York State said we have a lot of districts that are not giving the same opportunities to all students. And it happened to do with size and ability, as well as financial reasons. And that's why BOCES was established, so that we could give the opportunities and everybody could access them. We have 47 school districts that participate in EduTech, which is a regional information center. They are the center that is all with technology, as well as you heard with Victor, ransomware pieces. They're the ones that we deploy. Over 1,000 employees report to us at the Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES. And we have 2 tech centers from EduTech. One is in Newark and the other one's in Leroy. So we cover quite a bit of the GB school districts as well. So like everything else, this is our commitment to you, but this is also the way the board decides to evaluate me as well as my cabinet. So we are committed to making sure that we're impacting education. And so when I sit with the board, that first bullet is, how did I do that? And did we do that? And how well did we do that? We are committed to increasing the capacity. If you need something, it's my job to figure out how to do it. Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES commits to transforming instructional pedagogy. I'm more than sure that your staff members that sit on our regional instructional council is one of the strongest, and they meet once a month. And that's our time to just think outside of the box to say, what are we doing? What do we need support in? We offer a lot of our professional development at no cost to districts, because we understand that everybody has to have an anchor in the foundation. And promoting a culture of innovation, right? We can't stop. We've learned a lot of things with COVID, but we've also been able to gain great insight, and not everything has been lost. So what are those lessons learned that were productive and that will continue to maximize our potential, as well as fostering effective communication? It's two-way. My door always has to be open at all times, at all hours, and we're here to serve you. And we thank you for allowing your students to be part of us, but know that our job is to not have a student fit our mold. We don't have a mold. Our job is to take your kid and figure out how we can make them successful and continue to reach areas that, as Maddie said, they never thought possible, but yet now she's had that pathway to enhance her life. There is a big taboo back in the old days that BOCES was for kids that couldn't make it. Maddie would have made it here perfectly well. She's a great kid, right? BOCES is here to support students that are interested in having different opportunities. So on behalf of the Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES, thank you so much, and thank you for your time today. And I don't know if you have any questions for me. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
One thing I want to say about Maddie is that the reason why the podium is here tonight and not over there is because she was eating lunch here today, and she came in to decide how the room was set up. And Maddie said she was speaking tonight, and I said, so where do you want the podium? In true leader form, she's like, well, kind of quiet, but I want to make sure that I see her. So we talked about having the podium over there. We talked about having the podium over here. When I stood here, and I said, how about here? She's like, done.
We teach them well.
Thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. That's some great stuff going on over there.
It's okay with the board president. I want to kind of stand tonight to stretch my legs.
You go right ahead. Sounds good. You'll be in the hot seat over there. That brings us to public access to the board. I'm going to read this tonight because we have some people online. I'd just like to say thank you for coming. We appreciate you taking the time to attend our meeting and welcome your comments. If you'd like to share your thoughts with the board, please state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. This will keep the comment period to reasonable length and still allow everyone who wishes an opportunity to speak. Please understand that we will not respond to your comments or questions at this time, but if you would like a response, please be sure to include your phone number or email address on the sign-in sheet. Please turn your cell phones off to silence and refrain from texting. For those of you watching from our YouTube channel, if you have comments, please use the YouTube chat feature and the moderator will let us know when a comment is made. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak this evening? All good? Anyone on the online? All right. That brings us to the approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion? I got Carrie and Jeff. Are there any questions on that? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. And that brings us to the acceptance of our minutes for the April 12th meeting and the, can I do this together? The special board meeting that we love at 7:30 in the morning on April 28th. Are there any questions on those? If not, those will stand as submitted. That brings us to our acceptance of the treasurer's reports. Are there any questions on those? If not, those will stand as submitted. And now that brings us to our administrator's report, and that's why Chris wanted to stand up. So we got a couple reports for us.
Sure. So good evening again, everybody. I won't take a lot of your time. I just wanted to make mention of our capital project for those who haven't been on campus in a while. But tonight, you can see that there's big work being done on the east side of the high school building. Second floor going on. You can start to see the windows. We're hoping to be able to get some tours here pretty soon, so to the public, so you can start to have an idea, envision what's going to be happening in the summertime and in the fall to be able to open it. Big shout out to Whitman grad Jen Kelly. She continues to do a fantastic job with SCI design and helping us with our, they call it interior design, but you know, she really has put a Whitman flavor on everything and deserves a lot of the credit for the outcome of the project that you're going to see. There will be etchings in the ceilings and in the walls from every Whitman building that ever existed to today. She worked with our historian Ken Sealing on trying to find some appropriate pictures and sketches and things to incorporate throughout the project. And if you had an opportunity to be in our gymnasium, you saw the gym tuck court very professionally cut out and placed on the wall with banners from Gorham and Middlesex, just total class. And you can expect the rest of the project to be completed that way. Also, we have been able to open up our auditorium to some parents. We've had a couple of productions so far. Parents have been just incredibly impressed, as they should. You know, when you look at what that auditorium has to offer, 80,000 watts of sound all the way through the auditorium, a correct acoustical pit and stage area, and LED lights and a complete professional light board. That's what you have. You won't find a better one. Find me a better one in the area, and keep in Rochester included. Besides what's in downtown Rochester, you're not going to find a better auditorium than what we have. So we're very, very proud of what's happening. And the last thing I would say about the capital project is, again, all of the local workers that we have on the job, all trades, it doesn't really matter. And you know, one of the pieces that they take great pride in is what they're going to leave behind for the community. So I didn't know you could bend sheetrock. You actually can. And one of our Whitman grads who was on that project around the track actually demonstrated, you know, how you bend sheetrock and you soak it and you put it on the wall and you gently roll it as you're putting screws into it to get it around. There's a special way and time that you have to dry it. And when you get a chance to look at just a mini feature like that, I just think you're going to see the care and attention that's being put into this district. I've never been part of anything more special. I can say that. I've done probably $100 million for the capital projects over my career, so that's been great. On the budget vote, I saved it for this section just to make sure that people understand this is an in-person vote this year on May 18th in the chorus room. As I mentioned in the previous presentation, Amy Carroll will help me. We'll put out a couple of quick informational videos on how to get here, where to park, where the entrances are, and all of that thing. If for some reason you don't feel comfortable, though, there is still an absentee ballot process. Shireen is our board clerk and election clerk. The deadline for mailed-in absentee ballots was actually today at 5 p.m. to have them postmarked. But we'll have an absentee ballot box that'll be outside of the high school. You are able to drop off your absentee ballots right up until May 18th at 5 p.m. Okay, and we put that out there. We'll make sure it continues to be out there. We've also sent that to every news agency so that when they do their updated budget figures and everything for schools, the absentee process for Marcus will be in there as well. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to vote. We would just ask you to vote. We have a large community, 154 square miles, a lot of interest in what we do here at the school. We'd like to see that at the polls and have people come out and vote. Okay. Had a great opportunity to present the budget. Actually, Phyllis invited me on Monday night to present the budget to the Lions and Leos. That was about 30 people, and it was great to be with them and have a nice meal together and be able to kind of share the budget and some stories and that kind of thing. So Phyllis, I appreciate that. And that was a way for us to really get the word out. What we continue, we always talk about the positives, but there are growth areas in everything that we do as well. And one of the areas that we need to continue to grow in is how do we reach our senior citizen population who doesn't like to use a computer. And we've got to figure out more creative ways to be able to do that. We've done a lot of things. We have lists of people that we mail things to. And we do all of that, but I still feel from some of the questions that I got at the Lions Club, and also some of the head nodding and things that I had said, that we need to continue to sharpen the pencil on that in the years to come. So we will do that. The two things that happened today, that Unified Bowling had a very, very successful season. We learned today they were the winners of section 5, which is really incredible. We're able to get a plaque today. We're going to try to get them together for the June meeting if we can. Maybe have them here, or if not, at least be able to share a picture with you with their trophy. It's a very, very cool. Looks like it's a wood cutout of New York State with what they won. I'm very, very proud of them. It's a very successful program for us that's in its second year. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do basketball this year. Most schools couldn't because of the shortened seasons. So I'm not so sure they actually did anything with that. But for bowling this year, just incredibly successful. And then also in the success category, fairly new teacher to us, not new to education, John Pregel, science teacher, today received the Golden Apple Award. So we are very, very proud of him. I didn't learn about that until about 10 o'clock this morning for a presentation that was given at 10:30. So I'm kind of backfilling a little bit, but Mr. Pregel was very honored to receive it. He actually was nominated by one of his students, which I always feel is the best way to get something is from your students. Our athletic fields, just want to make a public comment about that. Mr. Wagner and his staff work as many hours as they possibly can to make sure that they're greenlit for whatever overtime they need, whatever resources they need. But as what happens with some fields, especially in Valley, with the weather that we've had, we just have had a tough time getting on those fields and being able to plan. We just have. And I do apologize for that, because I know we've had a couple of phone calls, emails about it. There's just not a lot we can do. We have thousands of dollars of product to go on the fields. I was down there today, Monday.
Yeah.
I was down there Thursday with them and watching them go over and manicure the field. They're putting as much care in as they possibly can. It's just the weather's killing. So what Mr. Leahy was able to do, we reached out, and actually as we speak right now, baseball and softball is playing at FLCC as we speak. And lacrosse, no, I get it off. Somebody's playing in Canandaigua right now. I think it's lacrosse. Not quite lacrosse, but there's a lot going on. And we'll continue to try to use those partnerships as best we can. But those other schools are also having field issues as well. It's just the weather. And I do feel bad because it's a shortened season, but we're doing the best we can with that. So I don't want you to think for a second that it's anything that our grounds crew or Dan Langford aren't doing. They're doing everything they possibly can. As Sheila mentioned earlier, Food Link continues to be just a success. And success to us is being able to serve and help families in need. Food Link is changing a little bit, their philosophy and their practice. So on Thursday was the first time we got boxes that were kind of Lunchables. They weren't regular meat and all that. But we got a lot of produce. It was a little bit late, but the group that we had just absolutely crushed it in getting people served. And, you know, I just couldn't be more proud of everybody that helps with that. And in fact, on Thursday, and Officer Lambert, I remember his name, but I don't, a gentleman went through the line actually and saw that we were just slamming, parked his truck, came out and worked with us for the entire food line to help us serve people. So that's how cool this community is. So, Mr. Lynn, do you remember his name?
I think it was Don.
Don Weaver. Okay. So we'll try to we'll nail that down for on this Thursday when we have food link. I'd like to give him a special thank you. That was very nice to be able to do that. Speaking about our school resource officer, Officer Lambert, he's here tonight. I just wanted to publicly thank him for all the work that he's provided to the school district. There's a ton of things that he does that people see, like food link, like getting into classrooms, like being available to cover lunches at Durham or wherever he is. He certainly is a jack of all trades, but he's the consummate role model, and the students absolutely love him. He is so ingrained in what we do at Whitman that I just wanted to thank him for that. And you know, thank you, Scott. As we all know, being a police officer is the easiest thing to do these days, and you know, he does it with absolute class. Some of the things that he does behind the scenes that you don't know about, don't care about, helping out families, paying people's bills, doing things that you wouldn't see in the news or anyplace else just because he wants to, because he feels that that's what good community members do. So, Scott, I've had a lot of SROs over the years. I can't thank you enough. I'm just so pleased to have you on board here, doing what you're doing, and I look forward to our relationship in the future. So thank you. Return to school at end of the year. We continue to be the only school in the area that has a full house. And I say that with pride. I had a conversation with Mary Beer today, who's the director of public health for Ontario County, reporting to her our success. I always knock on wood because COVID is COVID. And but we've been very fortunate due to everybody following the rules seriously, our cleaning, that we've been able to keep students in school. Our seniors today, we're actually out in the parking lot with a cow, not a real one, with a cow, kind of dressing it up, painting it, getting it ready to kind of auction off to the highest bidder to put it in somebody's yard as a fundraiser for their senior bash. And to me, as crazy as that sounds, to me, that was like a sense of normalcy, right? Yeah. You know, seeing a track meet with 4 schools here, normalcy. Being able to go to a lacrosse game and have 200 plus, being able to have 200, now we have 500 fans at lacrosse games or whatever, a plus, normalcy. And that's what we want to continue to provide. Carla Woolston, hats off to her as well in food service. She's been working on, she and her staff have been working out of a classroom at the high school to provide lunch to all of our high school students. And she did just about double the number of lunches that she's serving. So the students are coming to eat. Jen Taft has done a really nice job of making sure down 12 classrooms that she has room for everybody, and that's been cool. One of the pieces that I'm always looking at is the mental health, looking out for the mental health of our employees and our students. And you know, one of the things that and I wish Nikki was still here, so I have to thank her as well. One of the things that I looked at was, you know, what can we do for our employees and for our students to get through the rest of the school? And it sounds like a small token, but I think it's going to be a big deal. And that's to be able to give everybody the Friday before Memorial Day off, so that they can have a true 4-day weekend. What I think that's going to help do is it's going to help us to be able to segment the school year into 2 pieces. One, the time from now until Memorial Weekend, and then get 4 full days of being able to rest, rejuvenate, get ready, and then come after that and have about 3.5 weeks left before the last car pulls out of the parking lot after Memorial Weekend. So I'm going to announce that officially tomorrow to the community and to our employees. But we don't have, as the board knows, an employee appreciation day. we don't have a lot to give, right? We're not a company that can give bonuses or do different things. We're not allowed to do that. So this small piece, I think, having 4 full days is going to help everybody to do a little bit of a reset. And where I wanted to thank Vicki Ramos publicly was FLSS right out back is still open. And what she's agreed to do for us is she's going to have a virtual day that way, that day, so that our food service workers don't need to work, our bus drivers don't need to drive, and our custodian doesn't need to be over there. So I very, very much appreciate the partnership that we have. I talked about today. So we'll get that word out tomorrow. This is a thing. And then end of year, finally, I'm pretty excited about the end of the school year. So far, the kids, the seniors have voted so far to have their graduation in the auditorium because it's a showpiece, you know. We're allowed to have 250 people in the auditorium as long as they are 6 feet apart. Jen Taft actually has a 6-foot stick that she uses when she goes into any space to make sure that things are correct. You can imagine her using that. And I'm sure you're listening, Ms. Taft. I mean it in the nicest way possible. She'll make sure that everything is absolutely safe. So what her challenge right now is to now look at the Department of Health and CDC guidance. Now we can have 500 people outdoors without a test, without an open test. And we can have 250 indoors, not including our students, without having a COVID test. So what she has to do is collect all the details, do all the planning, probably meet with the seniors again next week, present the new facts, make sure that they still want what they want, and then be able to provide that. So where it's sometimes that can create a little bit of anxiety is with families, because sometimes what mom or dad wants isn't what the student wants. And what we always look at is it's the student's graduation, it's their graduation, and what do they want. And the last vote that we had, almost every senior voted. So it's not like 5 people are voting representing the class, it's almost every senior voted. So we'll find out what happens. But as it sits today, we're looking at having 2 to 3 adults, depending on how we can work it out, 2 to 3 adults in the auditorium for graduation. If the seniors choose to change their mind and have it outside, my sense would be that it would be the same setup as last year, but that families would be able to bring, instead of 2 people through to see their graduate, maybe bring 4 or 6 people through to see their graduate. So again, Ms. Tapp will present all the facts, but as board members, you'll probably start getting questions about graduation and things like that. So I didn't want you to be armed without the facts. So those are the facts as we sit today. Okay. So I want to thank you, and that's all I've got for my report. Thanks.
All right.
Oh, you know what? One more thing. One last, there was an ad today, so I apologize. One last thing, our board members do a really, really good job of getting their training. And the New York State School Boards Association I think does a really good job of recognizing people for the training that they get. Because again, they're not getting $1 million salaries to be sitting here tonight as Board of Education members. And so it's my pleasure tonight, only because of the pandemic. Normally a representative from school boards would be here to make a presentation, but because of the pandemic, they've asked me to do the presentation, which I was more than happy to do. So today we want to recognize Sheila Brown, our board president. It says here, this letter is written by Barry Entwistle, who's the director of member relations. I'm gonna paraphrase it for you, okay? So it says, I'd like to congratulate you, Sheila, on having earned a level 3 board mastery award, which includes recognition on our on-board newspaper, as well as the following items: certificate for a free 1-day event, excluding convention or convention-related events. Okay? Certificate of recognition, and then also a commemorative portfolio, which I've got right here. So, I just want to congratulate you. Thank you for. All right, now I'm done.
Oh, great. Okay. That brings us to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda that includes G1A to G16. Carrie, Phyllis, sorry, guys, I'll catch you guys next time. All right, are there any, that's a lot on there. Are there any questions on that? Okay, Sue's gonna pull G13, okay? So we're gonna pull G13 and vote on that separately. Are there any other, so we'll talk about that after we vote on this, yeah? Are there any other questions or comments on anything? Okay. So do I need that motion? Okay, so I'm gonna say all those in favor of G1A through G16 excluding G13. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried.
If I could mention, Eric has a service here, and I congratulate her on her
Yes,
tenure.
yes,
She's going to
absolutely.
be recognized next meeting along with some of our teachers. as well, okay?
Thank you, congratulations. Okay, so G13. Oh, okay. Because, oh, good call. I forgot about that. Good call. I'm like, why are we talking? Okay, so can I have a motion on that? Carrie, I gotta go over here. Anybody? Corey. All right. So are there any questions regarding that or any comments on that? That's just what we voted for or what we discussed in the annual meeting. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That motion is carried. Thanks, Sue. Good catch. All right, that brings us to our second public access to the board. Would anybody like to say anything? I knew it. She's back.
I want to thank both you who have sent me cards and phone calls and messages. Successfully had a hip operation. Family has been very, very supportive also. We had somebody from each of the kids coming and staying with me. My last one just left today. I'm on my own, I think. However, they have said that they have surprised me, so I don't exactly know what that is. However, I would urge anyone that you know for you to encourage the voting for a positive yes for the district. I'm an oldie goldie from that has a family that has done very well with a good foundation from the district, and we still are producing the results. And I would urge the public to vote yes on all of the propositions, including the libraries, because they too are very important to the district and the community. And with that, I'm hoping July that we will pick strawberries. But in order to make sure, I have enlisted two of my granddaughters for planning strawberry outing. And I'm going to show them how to make strawberry pie and cookies. Down the road.
Well, Mabel, I'm sure I join everybody here in saying, welcome back. We're glad to see you here. So glad it all went well for you. All right, is there anyone else online or? Yes.
I just want to thank Chris for taking a day to bring us around to the buildings and saying thank you to staff and providing donuts. I've talked to teachers because I'm part of a women's educators group, but I've talked to teachers from other local schools and they got nothing but an email. And one of them in particular said, you know, I can't remember ever seeing a board member come around with the superintendent and, you know, how nice it would be for that to happen. So thank you for having that happen here. I think their staff appreciated it. It was nice to let them know they were appreciated, and I think it was a good thing to do for them, for their morale too, you know, but it's nice to be able to as board members, be able to do that once in a while. You know, show our faces, because they don't get to see us set up, you know, unless they are going to Zoom into a meeting, but
I appreciate you doing it. It's, I don't know, it gives you the heart, it lifts you, you know, and I think it lifts our employees as well. So we should-
Yeah, it was very, it was such,
Lifted me.
yeah, it really did. I was like, what are we doing? Like, what, like, our, you know, a highlight of my, we walked into this one room and this little boy, you know, we're just walking in there all excited to say thank you to the teachers. This little boy said, oh man, now there's too many people in here. It was just, it was hilarious. They were, oh, kids say what they say, but it was great.
And it
So-
wasn't about Chris, it was more about Luna.
Yeah,
Where's
oh yeah.
Luna?
Where's Luna? They didn't care about us or Chris. It was, where's the dog? So, but yeah, thank you for arranging that. It was great. All right. Are there any other comments from anyone? Yes?
Along with Mabel's comment, I just want to, I'm just overwhelmed with all that's going on and the comments that are being made out there. And I know that many, many years ago, when we researched and went all the way around to all these schools and we looked at our daughters and said, where do you think we should go? And they said, "Those people in Durham are nice. We've got relatives in there. Let's go. We want to go to Marcus Whitney." And you know, I've never been sorry. I've worked here. My husband was a bus driver here. And the comments that I'm hearing out there right now, they're lucky we have a Mr. Brown. Because he's out there and pushing for the school. And we have a great faculty and a great board. And we need to keep working together to make sure that the students are taught and they're getting what they need. That's important right now. But it's been hard to do. So thank you, all of you, even for the people that come here in the board meeting. Any comments are always taken. I've heard some people say they like that they're heard, and that's important too. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're good? Online, we're good? Mhm. All right. That brings us to our board member items. We have an audit committee meeting on May 25th. We did not have one, so nothing to report, but
we will definitely have one.
we'll definitely have one on May. Okay. And that's at 5 p.m. Yeah. All right, and potential board dates for next year. Years ago, I got laughed at because I had them put a question mark on the February date. Just so happens to be Valentine's Day. I was the only one that had a problem with that. So we had the meeting on Valentine's Day. But I asked Shireen to put a question mark if anybody else has an objection, but otherwise it will remain. And does anyone else have, I know, what do we have, Shireen? The July and August meeting are at 6, and then the rest are at 6:30. Does anybody have any?
And I didn't know if we wanted to change the time to 6 o'clock or if we want to keep it the way it's been at 6:30.
6:30, you said? Yeah. Everybody? 6:30? Does anybody have a problem with any of those dates that you see? I know the October 12th one is a Tuesday because we're off on the Monday, is that correct?
Correct.
And not just the February 14th, that is not the week of break, right? It would be the following week, right? Fine, we'll have.
Our July and August meetings are at 6.
I know, but I'm saying why.
Just with it
Because of the summer.
being summer and just to start.
Is that
them
okay
early.
with you? Okay.
So I didn't know if September through June, if we wanted to
No,
move
we're
it to.
moving from 7 to 6:30.
Okay.
Does that sound good for everybody? Is everybody, so we're not actually voting on these now.
No, they're going to
But-
be on the June agenda to vote
Yeah,
on. So
okay.
I'll just carry that over.
All right, so we'll keep that, that's good. And then obviously, just to repeat, as we have probably 5 times tonight, the May 18th budget vote from noon to 8 here. There's gonna be signs up. It'll be all obvious as to where to go.
Now, this says band room, you said earlier chorus room.
Sorry,
It is the
Band.
band room.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I wondered when you said chorus room earlier. I
Okay.
hadn't seen that it said band.
Good catch there, Phyllis. And then the June 14th board meeting, is that at 6 or 6:30?
6:30.
6:30? Everybody okay with that?
That might be at 6. We might have a hearing. We'll have to have a public hearing on our safety plan. So that might be a 6 o'clock hearing.
And the June one is when we're gonna celebrate a lot of students and retirements and, yes. Thank you, tenure, thank you. And 10 years, yeah, correct, that's,
We'll make sure we come in well.
Okay.
Make sure it's safe.
Okay.
Try to get as many persons as we can.
perfect. Okay,
Yes,
Is the senior presentations on 18th, are they in the bus loop?
I don't know.
oh, good question.
The senior
No.
presentations that they do normally in the gym?
Right.
I heard an inkling that it was in the bus loop this year.
I'm not sure. I know the plant sale is gonna be in the bus loop. And I'm not sure what Jen's plan is.
I have a meeting tomorrow morning. at 9:30
Yeah.
For that.
and stuff, so I don't have an answer.
Okay.
So that potentially we could come see them or
I
no?
think so, yeah.
Okay.
Let me find that out.
Okay.
Before I say yes. let me find
Okay.
that out, yeah.
Is that the night, that's the night?
That's the
that-
night of the.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be great. Huh? Great. Are there any other board member items? All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break and then we are going to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective negotiations with the teaching assistants, teacher aides, and clerical associations and custodial maintenance and food service employees association, in case you were all wondering.
All the above.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight. There's going to be no additional board action, so the meeting is going to end. Thanks again.
Yeah.